Karoline Leavitt is not to be messed with.
Especially considering she's a rising star in the Democrat Party right now.
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star.
That's Jasmine getting a well-deserved reality check for some of her comments. And she's not the only one. Even Karine Jean-Pierre faced serious pushback during one of the press briefings.
I think that's the same individual who said from this podium numerous times that the commander-in-chief was mentally and physically up for the job, which we knew was a lie.
That's why today we're looking at moments where Karoline didn't just respond, but she completely torched the critics. So buckle up, because you're in for a treat.
Really quick on Jasmine Crockett. She said, I believe, that Trump supporters are mentally ill before calling for bipartisan support against the president. Can you respond to that, especially considering she's a rising star in the Democrat Party right now?
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory to accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And the America First movement, which President Trump has built, is filled of hardworking patriots, the forgotten men and women, business owners, law enforcement officers, nurses and teachers, and middle America, as we all know, from where you all grew up, outside of this beltway. That's who makes up this president's movement. And Jasmine Crockett should go to a Trump rally sometime and she can see it for herself.
She's absolutely right. Jasmine's political commentary is so shallow that it borders on performance art, and yet it fits right in with the pattern we've seen from other Democratic leaders. Think Hillary's basket of deplorables or Biden calling half the country garbage. What used to be career-ending statements are now brushed off like they never happened. This isn't just political strategy anymore. It's the new normal of the left, where such rhetoric gets a free pass if it comes from the right people. Next, we have Jerome Powell getting put on the spot as Karoline brought some receipts with her.
I would remind the Fed chair, and I would remind the entire world, that this is a president who was a businessman first, and he knows what he is doing. He has a proven economic formula that worked in his first term as president, and it is working again. The one problem that remains is high interest rates for the American people. The American people want to borrow money cheaply, and they should be able to do that. But unfortunately, we have interest rates that are still too high. So the president sent this note to the Fed chair today. And if you look at this chart, this is a chart of all of the interest rates of many countries throughout the world are all paying lower interest rates than the United States of America, which has one of the hottest and strongest economies in the world. The president sent this note to the Fed chair. It says, Jerome, you are as usual too late. You have cost the USA a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being lost and there is no inflation. And the president is right. There is historically low inflation thanks to his policies.
This happened after Powell kept refusing to lower interest rates, even going as far as blaming Trump's tariffs for the decision. The backlash has been building, and calls for his resignation are growing louder. A lot of people have weighed in, but none did it like Karoline. She pulled out the president's own words and delivered her response with absolute precision. But nothing comes close to the way a CNN journalist got absolutely blasted for reporting on so-called intelligence leaks.
Said that the DIA report was low confidence intel. Can you share what other assessments are currently underway to get to the bottom of just how effective these strikes were?
Yes. Well, I can assure you what the CIA director said, that when we look at the entirety of the intelligence that we have to this date, it concludes that these strikes on the Iranian nuclear facilities were absolutely successful. It was a total obliteration, as the president said. And not only does our own intelligence say that, but also the Iranian foreign minister has said that. We saw Israel conclude the same thing based on their own intelligence. We also had the United Nations say that as well. So I think the only other time the United Nations, Israel, Iran, and the United States has agreed on something is that the sky is blue, but they all agree that Iran's nuclear facilities were completely demolished.
If you think about it, no legitimate agency would ever release its true analysis to the media, especially on something as sensitive as the situation with Iran. These kinds of assessments are classified for a reason, but as expected, CNN pushed multiple stories claiming leaks suggested the mission failed to hit its intended target. The narrative quickly took off, despite how shaky the claims were. In response, the Pentagon, along with the FBI, launched an inquiry into how this information surfaced, noting that it was based on low confidence intel. That basically means the credibility of these claims claims was questionable from the start. Still, it was presented as fact.
I believe the FBI is investigating to find out who that leaker was because it's illegal and they should be held accountable for that. Leaked bits and pieces of an intel assessment to push a false narrative. And it's to the same reporter, I will add, Natasha Bertrand of CNN, who has done this in the past. In 2020, it was Natasha Bertrand who had 51 intelligence analysts falsely lie to her, but she still put it on paper for some reason, that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. We all know that's not true, right? We can all agree on that now. That was a lie from the intelligence community. And so this is a reporter who has been unfortunately used by people who dislike Donald Trump in this government to push fake and false narratives. She should be ashamed of herself. And that's not what reporting is. Journalism is trying to find the facts and the truth. And this week, we saw this same reporter being used to push a fake narrative to try to undermine the President of the United States, and more importantly, the brave fighter pilots who conducted one of the most successful operations in United States history.
She is absolutely right. Journalism nowadays has been reduced to who gets to be first, as that ensures the story goes viral. The faster the story spreads, the more clicks it generates, and with that comes more ad revenue. But in the rush to break news, facts often take a back seat. Then these same legacy outlets act confused when their ratings tank and trust plummets. The solution isn't complicated, stick to the facts, and maybe people will start trusting the media again. Next, we have Karoline taking some jabs at her predecessor, after KGP made a comparison between the current press access rules and those of North Korea.
Press access, your predecessor, Karoline Jean-Pierre, who presided over many novel press access restrictions, criticized the recent changes to the press pool made by your office. She said in an interview, quote, "What we're looking at is what North Korea is doing." What's your response to that, and can you say anything to allay concerns that unfavorable coverage will be punished in this new press pool system?
I think that's the same individual who said from this podium numerous times that the commander-in-chief was mentally and physically up for the job, which we knew was a lie. Many people in this room knew it was a lie. Many of you were admonished for asking questions about that truth. So when it comes to truth and transparency, this administration, this White House is setting the example. This president is taking far more questions than his predecessor, Joe Biden, did on a daily basis, and that will continue.
It's pretty ironic hearing Karoline Jean-Pierre talk about freedom of the press, considering what's happened under her watch. During her time as press secretary, over 440 journalists had lost their access to the White House press pool. On top of that, reporters were often asked to submit their questions in advance, which completely defeats the purpose of live press briefings. And then when something came up that didn't fit the script or was even slightly uncomfortable, it was simply ignored. That's why she talks about defending the press or respecting free speech. It's hard to take it seriously.
President Macron of France earlier today said that tariffs levied by powerful countries are often a form of blackmail, and criticized the sort of process that's underway. He didn't mention the United States specifically, but said that these tariffs are really hurting developing countries. So there's this big UN conference going on. What do you say to that?
I think the president and the White House would certainly reject that characterization by Prime Minister Macron. Tariffs are an effective use of presidential power to bring back the middle class, to bring back our manufacturing industry, which was the backbone of our American economy and has been hollowed out by globalist politicians who have caved to foreign countries instead of doing what's right for American workers. That's why the president is effectively utilizing his authority to wage tariffs and to utilize tariffs, and continues to be in discussions and negotiations on trade to do what's right for America. And Europe and the rest of the world might not be used to that, but President Trump is back in town and he's going to do what's right for our people and our country.
Excuse my French, but Monsieur Macron, he's a real piece of work. This is the same guy who was pressuring the EU to blackmail China with a trade war just a few years ago. And let's not forget that many developing nations, especially across Africa, are still dealing with heavy tariffs imposed by France and the broader European Union. So please, spare us from your lectures and save the drama for your next wine and cheese summit. I'd love to know your thoughts here, so let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please share it with your friends because it helps a ton. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.